Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the KnifeCenter. I hope you all are staying safe out there, but I'm in the office today because I've got in front of me a bunch of the coolest new knives that have hit our shelves in the last week. Let's check them out. So we're going to start off with, we've got two new Jesper Vaknes designs from Viper. The first is the Lilla, or the Leah. I'm not quite sure how that's pronounced. We got that double L there. But it's a really cool kind of stubby snub nose design, titanium frame lock flipper, and it's got some of the things we come to expect from a lot of Italian knives, especially Viper. We've got an M390 blade, comes in about 2.5 inches, so this is nice and short. Nice, like I said, real kind of a bull nose, shortened butcher knife type of profile. It is all belly. Now this particular one comes in at about 173, and it's got a blackened stone-washed blade and a bronze titanium frame. But depending on which option you get, you can spend a little bit less money for a satin version. Those come in about 160. Like I said, we've got some touches here that we tend to see a lot from Viper, including that M390 blade, but also the crowned spine on the blade. Makes it nice and comfortable. It's a nice little detail that you really appreciate in the hand and also looks great to the eye. It's just one of those things that kind of elevates it over a more budget-oriented offering. We've also got a little bit of jimping out near the front, or sort of midway up the blade, I should say, on this one. Gives a nice place for your index finger. If you're going in, you're doing any kind of slicing or small work. Really, it's kind of funny to see something like this in a folding format because this seems like a really good small hunting knife to me, especially with that index finger out there. You've got all this belly to work with. You could really do some nice, fine, or long sweeping cuts like that. Handle, as I mentioned, is titanium. It's got kind of a two-tone finish, or actually it's not two-tone, it's actually two different pieces. We've got a piece on the bottom with these kind of milled lines kind of radiating out from a point somewhere here below the knife. So you get a nice sweep of the line as you go from front to the back. And then this sort of swath, this smooth piece here, is actually an onlay that sits on top. So you get a cool effect there, but it's extra cool on the back because they've incorporated the lock bar cutout so that it's underneath that onlay. So it's hidden. You don't see that, that cutout at all, which is really cool. Pocket clip is deep carry. It is technically reversible, or at least it looks like it's reversible, I should say, but because of the angle to it here, it's gonna kind of curve the other way, or the opposite direction of the swoop on the front side if you were to do it. But it is deep carry, and it is nice and truly deep carry because it is mounted from the back of the knife itself, not screwed to the sides. Now, despite that really broad and very distinctive blade, when you fold it up, it actually minimizes very nicely because it tucks real nicely into that titanium handle and gets really narrow out there towards the pivot. You can open it two ways. Of course, you've got a thumb cutout here. Makes it real easy to open it one-handed a little more discreetly, or if you're gonna fidget and have a little bit of fun, use the flipper. And the action's pretty good. We've got bearings in the pivot, everything you'd come to expect from a fine Italian knife. This next one I like even better though. This is another Vox design. This is the Bologna, and not bologna. I know it sounded a lot like bologna. We've been having a lot of names that sound like other things lately. But it's a nice, I don't know what it means, but it sounds nice in Italian. Again, another Jesper Vaknes design, and when it's open, it looks a lot like a kind of a fancy slip joint, but in fact, this is a titanium frame lock flipper. Nice narrow profile, definitely calls to mind some of the old school knife patterns, and a really subtle flipper tab. It's not jutting out, it just barely kicks out a little bit, and you've got a little bit of jimping here at the top to actuate it, and it fires out nice and smooth. This one right here comes in at 168, and we've got M390 blade steel again, a little bit under 3 inches. I think it's about 3.35 according to our website right now. Crown spine again. Again, full, very different blade shape than the first one, but this edge is also all belly. I definitely appreciate that type of profile, especially in longer slices. It just works really well, and it's nice and graceful too. The handles are kind of similar as well, in that we've got essentially a two-piece handle construction on each side. Technically, you might say this is a liner lock, but I think it's more like a frame lock with some onlays. The liners, or the frame, depending on which nomenclature you want to use, on this particular one are anodized bronze, and then we've got a plain titanium onlay on the top. Both of them stone washed for a really cool texture. But I like the way the frame peeks out from the overlay. Down here, it kind of forms an actual structural part of the look. It's not just like a letterboxed liner just peeking out. It's part of the actual structure of the handle. And you can see how thick they are, especially compared to the onlay, which is kind of why I hesitate to call it a liner lock. I think we saw that with the new version of the Hinderer Eclipse last year. I was kind of in the same boat with that. But I love the elegance of this knife. Similar deep carry pocket clip to the Leah. Again, mounted to the back, so it's nice and deep carry, but it is curved to match the side, or the curve of the knife itself when it's on the right side. But I think it's a really nice piece. I'm very enamored with it, in fact. The Vox knives, the Viper knives Bellone from Vox. All right, next we're gonna look at a couple new Bestech models, and the first is a new variant. It's a fancier version of the Ascot flipper. Now this comes in at 108, and what they've done here is they've primarily upgraded the handle material, although the steel sees a change too. We've got 14C28N stainless steel. That's a Sandvik Swedish stainless. Really nice, takes nice fine edge. I'm a really big fan of it, in fact. And this particular one has a black and stone washed finish, but there's I think it's satin, but there's a plainer non-black version as well. This is a liner locking knife, and the handle on top is a two-piece design. We've got a carbon fiber bolster with kind of a wavy fit towards the rest of the handle, which is a light burl wood. We're not quite sure exactly what species it is, they haven't told us, but it looks fantastic. Kind of a light brown stain they've put on it, a little bit of chatoyance, that glow that kind of shimmers underneath the surface of wood. Really premium look. I really like this as well. Got a machined pocket clip on the back. It's been anodized gold to kind of offset that a little bit. I kind of wish they'd done the same thing to the barrel spacers, give it a little bit more gold pop. But it still looks really good, and it's a Bestech, which means we've, 9 times out of 10 anyway, we've got bearings in the pivot. It flips really nicely, but it looks good, and the blade profile is really usable. Nice high flat grind on there, a little bit of jimping and chamfered edges. It's gonna be a very usable, bigger gentleman's knife, kind of like almost like a gentleman's ranch folder or something like that. It's pretty cool. All right, next we've got a new kind of fancy looking design as well from Bestech, but this one's more affordable. This is the Eye of Ra, and it comes in at $52. So at that price point and with the materials here, that actually falls into a number of different flippers that Bestech offers that come in at that $52 range, or at that $52 price point, that come with D2 tool steel on the blade and G10 liner locking, in this case anyway, handles. Blade length is about 3.4, and it's got a straight backed spine with an edge. Again, it's all belly, kind of seeing a bit of a theme today. D2 steel, like I said, nice flat grind, long swedge, really slicey profile going on here. With that type of edge and that swedge on the top, you'll be able to move through some cuts very nicely. The star of this knife, though, is not the steel, or is not the blade. It is going to be a nice, hard-working blade, especially with that D2 tool steel, but the handles here are designed to look really good and really different than a lot of stuff that's out there. You're kind of seeing Kershaw do a little bit with some pass-throughs in the handle, and they've kind of picked up the ball here, Bestech has, with this kind of Eye of Ra motif, what they're calling an Eye of Ra here on the handle. We've got the circle and the two kind of triangular shapes on the side, echoed on both sides. And there's a few different colors available. I picked this one because I think the contrast between the liners and the G10 is really nice. We've got green G10 and a gold liner, gold anodized liner. And that peeks through in all kinds of different places. They've not kept the G10 flush to the outside of the liner here on the outer edges, so you see that gold from the side a little bit, but they've smoothed everything over on the metal parts. It's not like they left it kind of unfinished, and so that it was easier to fit. They actually had to go in and really machine those parts and finish those parts a lot more nicely, especially on a design like this. You see it also on the Eye of Ra motif. You see the gold peeking in a little bit. I really like the contrast there, but like I said, there are a few other colors available if you don't particularly like this one. Pocket clip, deep carry. It is mounted to the side, but it does peek out a little bit, although you do have the tip sticking out there. And this is a right side pocket clip only. We've got no holes on the left side for left side carry. All right, next we're gonna move a little bit east of China and head over to Japan with a new, or technically not new, but we've got a new stock of the Spyderco Delica with the glow-in-the-dark handles. This is a limited availability knife, so we're not sure if we're ever gonna be able to get more once this batch is gone. It comes in at $101.50, and apart from the handle material, it's essentially the Delica you know and love. It is the Delica you know and love, just with glow-in-the-dark handles. All the great Spyderco features: full flat grind, easy one-hole or easy one-handed opening with the hole, mid-mounted lockback with the Boyd dent, and a 4-position pocket clip so you can carry it just about anywhere. It's a good size, the Delica too. It comes in under 3 inches from the tip to the scale, so it's easy to carry just about anywhere, even if you live in kind of a restrictive place. And it's just a solid and proven EDC design at this point. VG10 stainless steel, I don't know if I mentioned that. It is the kind of the standard steel for this model. But the handles, like I said, glow in the dark. They still have their Spyderco's bidirectional texturing, so it's still a solid workhorse knife. And even if you don't care if it glows, it's a nice different look than just every other black folder out there. It is a little bit translucent. You actually see some of the liners from underneath, but that's gonna make it look even cooler when it is glowing. So we do have a few of these left, like I said, but if you want one, you're not gonna wanna wait. So speaking of something that glows, this next one doesn't, but this is some equally high visibility with this next knife. It is the White River Firecraft 3.5 with a new high-vis G10 handle option. It's the same FC 3.5 you've come to expect, you know and love, but these handles positively vibrate, especially under these lights here. I'm not quite sure how it's gonna come across on the video, but it glows, not like glow in the dark, but it's like a highlighter yellow kind of vibrancy here. It's really cool and not something you see too often on G10 or other kind of dyed materials. I'm really impressed with what the actual color and vibrance they were able to get with this. So if you happen to set this down and it's starting to get a little dark out, obviously it's not gonna glow in the dark, it's not gonna be that easy to find, but it is gonna be very bright. But that doesn't matter unless you actually wanna carry the knife anyway, and this is definitely a knife you're gonna wanna carry. Got about a 3.5 inch blade length, as the 3.5 would suggest. S35 VN steel with a stone washed finish. You can see we've got the kind of hoop here at the end, kind of karambit style. Now you can hold it in a couple ways. You can of course put your pinky through there, and that's going to orient the blade one way, or you can kind of wrap your finger around the ring. It's going to bring the tip down a little bit and let you engage with the blade, engage with what you're cutting at a little bit of a different angle that way. Now they call this Firecraft because this is a series of knives actually that are designed to help you get a fire going. To that end, I'll pull the sheath up here. We've got a Kydex sheath, snaps in. As you can see, we've got a ferro rod mounted right here in a Kydex loop as well. Now it doesn't come with a striker because the knife itself is going to be your striker. You got a couple different options. The first, most distinctive, you can see we've got a little a semicircular cutout here. The edges of those are crisp enough to strike that ferro rod. Now in front of that semicircle, this section of the spine here is actually also crisp enough to strike the fire steel. Or you can use it to kind of scrape bark, get some tinder going. You've got that option there, but yet it's still comfortable back here in the jimped area because the jimping's not super sharp. But then when you get out towards the tip, what I find interesting, if you look down from the top, it looks like it's one consistent finish. But then the tip here is not as crisp, or it's not crisp at all compared to the spine. So it's a gradual, but still definite change right there. It's practically seamless. I really like that. Now we've also got a couple versions of White River's Backpacker Pro with those same high-vis yellow G10 handles. This one has the black ion bond coating, which is kind of like a PVD, but we've also got the standard stone-washed version as well. The Backpacker Pro, of course, is exactly the same as their standard backpacker, only it has those handle scales instead of the paracord wrap. But you still get some of the nice details they're known for. Like my favorite thing about the backpacker design in general that White River does that you don't see enough people doing, I think, is the finger groove section here is crowned. So there's no sharp 90-degree edges, nothing too crisp. It's very comfortable for choking up on and really bearing down on your work. It's just a nice touch, and like I said, I wish more people would, more companies would do that. This particular one with the ion bond coating comes in at about $140. That's actually the same price as this Firecraft model, but you can save a fair bit actually. It's the version that's stone washed comes in about $120 if you don't care for the black coating or you want to spend a little bit less. I've got the sheath for this knife here. As you can see, kind of a similar Kydex construction to the 3.5. We do have a sort of modular belt loop here that can be twisted around a little bit. But also, these two holes right here are compatible with a small tech lock if you have that type of attachment. It makes it a little bit easier to get on and off the belt if you want to. You may just like the security that system offers, so just know that that's an option here as well. All right, we've got one more new variant from White River. This is a new version of the Sendero Pack, which is a design by Jerry Fisk. It's a nice small hunting knife design, excellent little slicer, even pretty good at food prep, I dare say. Blade is about 3¼ inches long, S35 VN steel again, also again with a stone-washed finish, but this version here comes with a burlap micarta handle. Now, regular viewers of this channel will know that I'm a big fan of a knife that is all curves, and this certainly has it here. It's very graceful, but very usable still as well. The handle is nice and flat here at the end, so it kind of palms really nicely, kind of nestles into the pocket of your hand very well. Also, because we've got these two tubes as part of the attachment hardware, if you were the type of person who liked to lash your knife to a stick or you needed to reach a little higher with it, you could do that here. Similar style of sheath to the others, Kydex, and this one is also small tech lock compatible if you want to add one of those. The blade itself has got a full flat grind, a little bit of jimping here, and a nice chamfer running from right in front of the jimping all the way out towards the tip. And again, the precision they achieve with this chamfer is really nice, the way it transitions up here to that jimping. I've said it before to a lot of folks, pretty much anyone who will ever listen to me, in fact, that White River doesn't get nearly enough credit for the amount of high quality stuff they're putting out right here in the USA, including this Sendero Pack, this one coming in at about $215 right now. All right, next we've got a couple of new knives, actually just a couple of the new knives that we're carrying from a new brand here at the Knife Center. This is Halfbreed knives out of Australia. And like I said, I've got two here, but we've got a number of different new models from them on our website right now. But this one right here is the large infantry fixed blade. Now you can tell pretty much straight away by the shape of this blade that this is kind of their updated, modernized take on the Mark II fighting knife, or the K-bar as it's more commonly known. Blade is about 7 inches long. We've got D2 steel, and we've actually got a Teflon coating here. A couple different colors. This is kind of the OD green version here, but we've got a hollow ground main section, nice broad swedge, really long. In fact, it reminds me a little bit of some of the older variations of this knife that had a longer swedge there. A little bit of jimping here on the back, but it's nice and chamfered over, so it's going to grip really nicely because it's so wide, but it's not going to be sharp on your thumb. Partial serrations here at the bottom if you need to do a little bit of rope cutting or other fibrous material. And the guard on here is integrated to the blade. This is not like a stacked leather handle, so they couldn't do a traditional type of hilt, but it's a little bit more subtle on the back side, so it's a little easier to get in front of that and do some choking up there. It's not going to get in the way as much on some of the finer work you might need to do. The handles are G10. Nice and fat and contoured pretty well, so even though this isn't a full round stacked leather handle, it's still going to fill the hand up very well indeed. They bolt on, so you could of course mod them or take them off for cleaning if you want, and you've got a nice little thumb scallop here at the front if you need to do any kind of pinch work. That means the scales aren't going to get in the way when you need to do that sort of thing. On the back we've got a couple of lashing points as well as a pommel that comes to an apex. It's not super sharp, but it definitely would help if you need to kind of concentrate your force onto any kind of strike. You're still, even though it doesn't come to a super fine point, you're not going to want to be on the other side of that. This particular one comes in at $325, and I definitely put the quality really high up there. If you're a fan of some folks like, I don't know, maybe Spartan blades, this wouldn't be too far off from what you might expect to get from them. But we've got another knife here, a little bit more affordable, although still a premium option at $225. This is the compact clearance fixed blade. We've got a dagger profile to the blade here, about 4 inches, D2 again, with that Ranger green Teflon coating. Partial serrations and plain edge out here near the tip. This is a single edge knife only. The backside is not sharpened. Handles are green G10 again, but also, like I said, both of these have a few different color options if you want. Grips fairly well. We've got a little bit of a ring here at the back. Almost looks like it could be a bottle opener, but of course it isn't. Just makes a nice wide place to stick a finger through. Even if you're wearing combat gloves or work gloves, there's still plenty of room in there to get your finger through. A little bit of a sub hilt here for retention, as well as to help extracting a blade. And the area here behind the partial serrations is not sharpened. So if you needed to choke up a little bit, you could just, of course, be careful. The sheaths on both of these knives are pretty nice as well. On the compact clearance, it's a nice slim design, so you can carry this just about anywhere. It comes with a MOLLE compatible dots attachment here on the back. Also, they supply a large tech lock with this as well, so you could carry it, strap it to a few different things if you didn't want to use the MOLLE strap. That, of course, is injection molded, but on the large infantry model, we've actually got a Kydex sheath, plenty of lashing options, and an included large tech lock, so you can carry it just about anywhere. As I mentioned though at the top, we've got a whole bunch of new Halfbreed models now on the site, and we're actually giving one of them away, and we're gonna leave a link to that because we're giving that away on our Instagram profile. So if you want a chance to win that, we're gonna have a link in the description for you to head over there. All right, while we're talking kind of heavy duty tactical stuff, we've got the new Case Winkler collaboration. This is the new pack axe, and this is expensive. It's a $500 piece, but I have to say I am pretty smitten with this design overall. Now the reason it's so expensive is you've actually got some kind of touches and some manufacturing methods here that you typically only see on custom knives. First and foremost, a tapered tang. I mean, I don't know if I've ever actually seen a tapered tang on a production level hatchet before, so it's definitely noteworthy and pretty cool. The handles are micarta. They're kind of a black look. It looks almost like green micarta when it gets really dirty and old. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's actually, it actually comes this way. It comes black, and the pins are black as well, so they definitely hide out in there. In front of the canvas micarta, we've got a paracord wrap around kind of the dual pillars of the steel. And this is 80 CRV2 steel, so very, very tough. And it comes with this really nice blackened finish as well. Now the reason that tapered tang is so nice is because the head is fairly thick. This is about 9 millimeters thick here at the top. So because of that taper, it keeps the weight balance forward and it's gonna help you swing a little more powerfully as you're working. Now the head isn't quite full hatchet size. I'd say this is more of a tomahawk sized head, but that paracord comes in really handy for choking up. You'll be able to do some small, finer carving work with this if you needed to, and it's gonna be pretty comfortable because of that cordage there. And then on the back, you've got a little bit of a hammer pull there. It's on the smaller side. Again, this is, I say 9 millimeters thick as really thick earlier, but when you're talking about a hammer, of course, it's not all that thick. But then again, the other thing that paracord wrap is gonna do for you is it's gonna essentially act as an overstrike collar. Even though you'd be hitting bare steel anyway, it's kind of a nice added little feature. Comes with a Kydex sheath as well that's got a couple of snap loops on it that are pull the dot snaps, so they're not gonna come off too easily. It's just a really, really impressive tomahawk. All right, let's go to something a little less overtly combat, but still kind of tactically inspired. This is the new Almar Quicksilver ultralight flipper. Almar, of course, is under new ownership now, so the knives aren't made in Japan anymore. These are Chinese-made designs. This particular one comes in at $160, and it's a nice narrow profile when closed, but you can see when we open it up, we've got a ton of steel, 5 inches of D2 tool steel. That nice narrow profile is gonna let it get in and out of kind of real tight corners real easily, and just a lot of reach. It still carries pretty nicely though, I have to say. Even though that is a 5-inch blade, they kind of keep the handle as minimal as they have to still maintain all that amount of steel. But because it's kind of, still pretty narrow, like I said, it doesn't carry too bulkily in the pocket. Reversible deep carry pocket clip mounted from the back. So it is truly deep carry. You can carry 5 inches of D2 steel without anyone knowing it if you need to. Now the handles here are already pretty light because they are titanium, but we've also got some holes milled out to take the weight out even more. Flips really nicely. I bet if you're really careful with it or if you're really deliberate about it, you can even use these kind of double quillion guards here as sort of an Emerson wave, just don't call it an Emerson wave, to open the knife up as you're extracting it. And then once you do extract it, you've definitely got a lot there to play around with. Now, if you want something with kind of a similar vibe, but you want something that's US made and you want an automatic, We've got a new ProTech here. This is a new version of the large Don. This is actually just one of a big restock we just got of a bunch of new cool ProTech models. This one comes in at about 300, yeah, about 300 right now. And the blade's a little bit shorter at 4.5 inches, although you'd never really say the blade is shorter than anything else, except for the fact that we just looked at that 5-inch folder right there. This is a lot of reach. 154 cm steel, and it's got this really cool rose gold finish. As you move it around in the light, you pick up some different highlights. It looks like, it doesn't look really pink at all, which is what I usually think of a rose gold. There's a hint of it in there, but it really picks up a lot of cool reflections. It almost reminds me of like an oil slick. It looks really cool. Handles are aluminum, black with kind of a matte texture going on, and it's a ProTech, so the action is absolutely fantastic. Deep carry pocket clip here on the back, and it does hold it nice and deep. It's a right side clip only, however, but this is another knife that you can carry an awful lot of edge in your pocket without ever advertising its presence. So that's all the new stuff I've got to show you right now. We are fortunate to still be shipping out orders here at the Knife Center, even though I'm working from home most of the time anyway. But we thank you guys for supporting us. What did you like here in front of me today? Make sure to let me know in the comments what you liked, what you didn't like, what you're looking forward to. And we're gonna leave links if you wanna get your hands on any of these to head over to KnifeCenter.com and pick them up. And make sure you're signed up for our Knife Rewards program, because if you're gonna be buying a knife, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. I hope you all stay safe, sane, and sanitary out there. See you next time.